So now it's time to break down, deconstruct the human game. The human game that really we all are playing most of the time, whether that is in religion or spirituality, society, or with our parents, with our school, with our jobs, with our relationships. And the thing is, life is a series of games. Games all have rules. Games all have structures and implicit assumptions and implicit rules which sometimes we are not aware of. And if we're not aware of them, we probably don't play them that well. And if we become more aware of them, we become more aware of the implicit nature of the things that we're participating in and agreeing to, then we can choose to not agree with them or not participate in them, or just perhaps play a different game, or perhaps play the game more effectively and efficiently, more in alignment with what is right for us and within the world at large. So looking at the human game, we can see that most of the time, the vast majority of situations and constructs are really using the feudalistic, hierarchical view of the world. And that is because we humans understand the world through language, through logic, through symbols, through concepts. Because we don't really have the ability or tune into the ability to feel things or to experience telepathy or thought transference or energy transference or all these things. We experience it on an unconscious level all the time, but most of the time we're just not aware of it. So we have to use these sorts of mundane, less effective kinds of modalities. And because of the very nature of that construct, there are boxes, there are limitations, there are assumptions, there are axioms which are embedded within that thing. Maybe we are aware of them, maybe we're not. Maybe we agreed to them at some point, maybe we didn't. So really, we have to look at these things and understand that when we're working with language, we're working with paradigms, we're working with assumptions, we're working with axioms, we're working with games and game rules. So the feudalistic and hierarchical worldview is just exactly that. It's our view of the world. It's how we symbolize the world. It's how we think the world is. But really, it's just our interpretation because the world isn't really like that. But as humans, that's how we organize our society and our culture. So examples of feudalistic and hierarchical worldview would be, kings, emperors, presidents, dictators. And how much of human history has been dominated by these kinds of cultures? Feudalism and hierarchy and kings and emperors and presidents and dictators still happening today, still running the world today. And people sort of think it's not really the case. People think, oh, I live in a democracy, I'm free. Not really. We really live in the rule of money because these powers are really oftentimes running things. Not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong, not saying it's always negative or always positive, because it's not really what we're talking about. It's not really our conversation. We're not really getting into conspiracies or anything like that. We're just looking at how the world is actually structured in an easily observable, tangible way. So what that implies is, well, they are above, you are below. They are above you on the society and the hierarchy, you are below them. So translate that over to religion as kind of the basis and foundation. This will get more clear and make more sense. Why do we start with religion? It's because religion is the most dominant force on our planet. Religion has been the most controlling, influential force for organizing human culture and society, period, bar none, no comparison. Even though we think we live in this kind of society or culture, in reality, it's controlled by religion. We should ask, well, why in a lot of places is homosexuality not legal? Why is marijuana and other soft substances illegal? Why are all these different behaviors illegal? Well, it's not because of facts. It's not because of statistics. and really logic, it's based on religion. It's based on morality. It has nothing to do with right or wrong or what makes sense for society. It's all based on the morality or the religious structure of the people that are in control of things. You can look at companies that are run this way, corporations are run that way. People behave this way all the time. And it's because of this feudalistic hierarchical worldview. So we can see that religion is really controlling and influencing the vast majority of the world, even though people act like that it isn't. People try to frame it in different ways, but in reality, that's really what the case is. So we can start with this initial idea, which says, right here it says start, and then next to it says you're broken, or you're below, or you are, less evolved, you are unsaved, you are impure, you are not in the right class, whatever. And then it goes down the next step and says, all right, here's the rules. Here's the box. You're bad, you're broken, you're guilty, you're a sinner, you're impure, but here's these rules and here's these guiding principles. And if you abide by them and do what I say, then you can get salvation. You can become better. You're not enlightened now, but if you just follow my methods for 7 days, then you'll become enlightened. You're an evil sinner now and you're impure, but if you just follow the commandments, follow what this book says, follow what this person says, then maybe you'll get into heaven, which is salvation, which is a relief from being broken or bad or impure or lower class or whatever it might be. But if you don't follow those rules, if you don't follow those methods, you don't fit into the box or the paradigm or the presumptions, then you're going to hell. You're not going to get into heaven. And then basically what follows salvation? Heaven. You get your salvation, you feel better, you are better, I'm in heaven. So there's a lot of problems with this mindset. And one of the main things we can look at is how and why this is wrong and how this why doesn't really work, because it's not in harmony with reality. And I don't mean right or wrong in a moralistic sense. I mean incorrect in the sense that it contradicts the very nature of reality. Because we can see start, we can see finish. And just basing something on that, basing a worldview, basing a structure, basing your life, basing your psychology, basing your self-identity, your ego, your self-esteem, your self-worth, your relationships on that construct is probably not going to work that well, because there is no start and finish. Everything in life is a process. Even if something dies, it doesn't really die. It just transforms. Energy isn't created or destroyed, right? It's just transformed. Leaves fall off the tree and people think, leaves are dead, whatever. In reality, they're not dead. They're in the ground and they're transforming. They're being broken down and decomposed by organisms which are alive, being absorbed by organisms which are alive, turned into other organisms and providing energy for other organisms which are alive. Then it creates more life, then that life goes on and that life dies and that creates more life. And really, there's no start and finish. That process never started and it didn't finish. So really basing something on this, meaning, I'm starting but I'm broken, but if I do this, then I'll be finished and I'll be in heaven and everything will be perfect forever and this is all I have to do. It doesn't make any sense, because that's not how the world works. That's not how reality works. This has nothing to do with religion or spirituality or belief systems or conditioning or program or wanting to be X, Y, or Z. It is just an observable characteristic and trait in the world around us. So then maybe it makes sense to line up our ideologies and our thoughts and our beliefs with those things that actually are real and exist in the world around us. So that's the first thing. So we'll take a look at a few other examples about how this plays out and how this same game, this same assumption, which is this baseline here, this baseline structure, this archetype, this format, this program, this game, plays and manifests and changes clothes and forms and all these different things, but in reality, they're all the same. Whether it's our religion or our society or our parents, our school, our jobs, our relationships, it's always the same game. It's always the same structure, and the same dysfunctional assumptions, dysfunctional axioms. which is probably why so many people are unhappy, probably why the vast majority of marriages end in divorce, probably why there's billions of people on pharmaceutical drugs to alter their mood. People are addicted to so many different things and doing all kinds of different crazy things. Why? Maybe it has something to do with just having a bad start, having a bad, baseline, having a mindset and a paradigm that just isn't real, isn't true, doesn't work. So the body's saying to the mind, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And the brain says, oh crap, oh, I feel sad, oh, I feel depressed, oh, I feel stressed. I need Prozac, I need Adderall, I need Xanax, I need Valium, I need this, I need that, I gotta drown this out, I need alcohol. I can't feel these things. I don't have time for these things because I gotta do this. I'm at the start and I gotta get to the finish. I don't have time to listen to the body. I don't have time to tune in. I don't have time to listen and feel and perceive reality in the real way. Don't have time for that because, I'm broken and I need to get fixed. I need to get fixed now. I need to get fixed quickly. And that is an extreme example. That's an extreme illustration. And it's extreme because we don't see it. We don't see that it's happening all the time. We don't see that maybe it is driving people a lot, but we just not aware of it. In the same way we're not aware of all the things that our body is doing. We're not aware of the fact that the earth is moving at thousands and thousands of miles per hour, but it is. Inarguably, it is. Our heart's beating right now. Our lungs are breathing. Our organs are pulsing. All this movement's happening in the body. You're not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. No one's aware of it. But it's happening, but it's real. So getting back and looking at some examples of how this plays out in all these different aspects. So we can start with religion, which is the most obvious example, which is where we just started, which says basically, you're broken, you're a sinner, here's the rules, here's the commandments, here's your salvation, here's heaven or hell, boom, start and finish. Okay, what about with your parents? Well, basically, usually your parents say, you know what? We brought you into this world. We're up here, you're down there. We're the parents, we're smarter, we know what's up. We're older, we're wiser, we know what to do. So you need to just listen to us. We'll tell you what to do. We'll squash your creativity and squash your nature and do this and do that because, you're bad, you're broken. Here's the rules. Follow our rules, we'll accept you, we'll love you. You behave how we think you should behave, we'll accept you, we'll love you. Fit into our box, we'll love you. Don't, then no salvation for you, no heaven for you. You're going to hell. You're going to your room. You're grounded. You're a bad person. You're a bad kid. You don't do this. You have ADHD. You have anxiety. You have this. You're broken. You need to be fixed. You need this medication. The list just goes on. Now, maybe we were lucky to not have parents that raised us like this and parents that just sort of stepped back and accepted us for who we are and didn't try to interfere with who we are, just kind of let us grow and gently guided us in the right way. Maybe we were lucky and got that kind of raising, but that's usually the exception. That's usually the rarity. So that's one example. And then what happens? We leave our parents and we go to school. School says, all right, you're in this grade, but there's all these other grades above you. And then when you're in kindergarten, you think, wow, look at the sixth graders. Wow, they're so old. They're so cool. I want to be a sixth grader. They're way cooler than me. I'm just a lowly kindergartner. And then your kindergarten teachers say, well, here's the rules. Here's where you're starting. Here's the rules. If you follow the rules and do what we think you should do and follow our guidelines and get the grades we want, answer the questions that we design in the way that we want you to answer them, then you'll get salvation. You'll get to the next grade. Boom. That process keeps going. And then all of a sudden, okay, now you're in middle school and you're in high school. Oh man, if I just get into college is way cooler. College kids are way cooler. Things will be way better when I'm in college. High school says, all right, here's the rules. You're only in high school. If you want to get to college, if you want to get heaven, if you want to get the carrot at the end of the maze, cheese at the end of the maze, you need to follow our rules. Here's what we expect of you. Here's what we want you to do. Here's the rules. Here's the guidelines. You need to get these grades, answer these questions in the way that we think you should answer them, because these are the acceptable answers. Boom, you get salvation, you go to college. Then you go to college says, okay, cool, you're a freshman, you're an undergrad, whatever. And you think, wow, it's a senior, wow, they're graduating, wow, they got a bachelor's. You got your bachelor's? Oh wait, now you got your master's. You got your master's? Oh, why not a PhD? Oh, you got one PhD? Why not two PhDs? You got two PhDs? Why not four? You got four PhDs? Why not get tenure? Why not be a professor? Why not teach? Why not do this? Why not do that? And the list just goes on and on and on and on. And at every step of the way, same process. Okay, cool, here you are, but if you just do this, you'll get up here. And then what happens when you graduate school? You're like, oh, I did it. Finally arrived. I'm finally in heaven. I graduated school. I got my degree. I'm making it. And you go get your job, and the job's like, oh, cool. Well, it's cool you just graduated college. It's cool you got a degree. Awesome. But you're still at the bottom. You know, you just got out of school. You're fresh out of school. You're fresh meat. You don't have experience. You don't know what's up. You haven't been in the workforce. You don't know what it's like. You only have a bachelor's. We really want someone with a master's. You got a master's? We really want someone with a PhD. You only have one PhD in this area? Well, we really want someone with a PhD in that area. Oh, we really want a doctor. We really want this. And going back and say, oh, okay, well, you got your job. Well, here's an intro job. But you follow the rules. You do what we say, you do what we expect, you do what is right for us. We'll give you salvation. We might give you that promotion. You know, you're not really worth much right now, but we might give you a raise. You do everything we want, we might give you a little bit of, dessert, a little bit of a carrot, little something, a little salvation, but you're still at the bottom. But if you work hard enough, maybe one day you can be the CEO, you can be the executive. Maybe you can start your own company, own your own company. You too can maybe one day be at the top of that pyramid. But if you don't, you're fired, you're out, you're suspended, you're getting a pay cut, you're getting laid off, you're not going to get worked, you're going to get a bad referral, you're going to get a bad mark on your resume, you're going to go down, you're going to go to hell, you're not going to get salvation, you're not going to be able to go to heaven. And then we look at, society, same thing. We look at relationships, same thing. Meet a lot of people and say, hey, cool, I like you. Oh wait, but I don't like all these things about you. I like maybe this, maybe that's cool, maybe that's okay, but I don't really like all these things. And we kind of need to change these things. We kind of need you to, not do these things. Well, so okay, here's the rules. Here's what I expect of you. Here's the preconceived ideas and notions and projections that I'm putting on you. Here's the box I'm trying to put you in. Here's the relationship construct that I think that we should be in. Here's the societal roles we should play. You're a man, you should do this. You're a woman, you should do that. Or you're two of the same sex and one is this and one is that, so you should do this and you should do that. And if you do these, you follow these rules, you follow these roles, boom, salvation, boom, maybe we'll get married. Oh, that'll be the thing. Instead of just dating, then we'll get up to the thing and we'll be married. But then what happens? You get married and think, this is the same. Nothing changed. Just some societal label, but really it's the same. Reality didn't really change that much. But then what happens is you get married, and then there's a whole, now we gotta start a family. Now we gotta have kids. We gotta get a house. Oh, now we got this house. We gotta get this bigger house. Now we have 2 cars. We need a 3-car garage. We have a 2-story house. We need a 3-story house. We got 2,000 square feet. We need 4,000 square feet. We need to get our kid into, this public school, but we really need to get him into private school because it's better than all the other schools. In reality, same basic structure, same logical framework, same program, same archetype, same mental virus, same parasite of the mind that is controlling our actions and our thoughts and telling us what to do. So the same thing applies to religion, society, or with our parents, with our school, with our jobs, relationships. Same hierarchical, feudalistic worldview is applying all across the board. So people have this idea that, well, it's all different. It's all separate. My work self was different than my family self, and my school self, and my job self, and my love self, and my relationship self, and my spiritual self. People have all of these selves, and all of this division, and all of this separation in their mind. Well, because of this crap, because of this hierarchical worldview, which says, well, up, down, better or worse, good, bad. Spiritual is better than physical. Physical is better than spiritual. Mental is better than emotional. And all these sort of conditioned ideas, which cause us to be at war with ourselves, cause us to resist ourselves all the time. And as a result, we create war, we create resistance, we create stress and turmoil in the external world. Because that's what we have inside. That's who and what we are. That's the defining characteristics of our being. So that's what we create in the world. Because that's how the mind functions. That's how the nervous system functions. We have our RAS, reticular activating system, which basically only shows us the things that we really focus on. And this is an old survival mechanism in the brain. And it's basically the idea that where attention goes, energy flows. Or you get what you focus on. You get what you think about. You perceive what you think about. And these things are usually installed at such a young age and at such a deep level that it's just behind the scenes running all the time. Kind of like if you're on your computer, that operating system is doing a ton of things all the time. You just don't see it. There's a bunch of processes and programs running just so you can see your graphical user interface, but you don't ever see behind the user interface. You just see the interface and say, wow, it's pretty cool looking. I can just click and do this and do that and run this and run that. And you think, wow, this is awesome. But in reality, it's only existing on this screen constrained by the limitations of that operating system. We don't really know what's behind it. We don't really know what are the programs that are running that allow that to happen. Well, here what we're doing is we're flipping the script. We're turning the screen around. We're looking behind the operating system and seeing what programs are running and why. We're seeing what game rules or what games are being played, what agreements we're making, what compromises, what relationships we're getting into, and then perhaps looking at, well, does this work for me? Does this feel right? Is this based on harmony? Does this allow me to expand and feel good? Or does this just create stress, tension, and anxiety in my life? Because really that's what it comes down to. Because these things are deep in society and culture, they're not going away. So our choice is to basically escape into somewhere in the wilderness far, far away and have nothing to do with anyone else in society and culture. Or we can change our mind. We can start to become more aware of things and start to shift our awareness and our perception, and thus have access to different thoughts, different beliefs, different neural nets, and thus ask different questions and make different choices. Because when we do these things, reality will respond. Our body will respond naturally because that's what it does. Cellular changes will happen, genetic changes will happen, chemical changes will happen as a result of our shift in psychology or our shift in perception. So because these ideas are so insidious and usually quite poisonous, it's perhaps best to pull them out and maybe just not participate in them as much. Or if we have to participate in them, do it in a way where we can remain detached and just realize what we're navigating and how we're navigating it so that we can do it more efficiently and effectively. So we covered a lot of stuff in this, and hopefully it all really made sense and gelled and came together, because it's sometimes hard to see things that are so obvious. It's sometimes hard to see things that are right in front of us all the time. So what I would encourage you to do is perhaps start to see these things around you. Start to see examples of how these things are working in your life right now, how they worked in your life in the past, and how they may work in your life in the future, and imagine and feel what you might be able to do if you can navigate more efficiently and effectively, and thus play the game at a higher level of effectiveness.